Hi chess friends, this is the FIDE master Alessandro Santagati, and it's the second video about how to play against the Scandinavian Defense. So e4, d5, e takes d5, and in the last lesson we further attention about knight f6, d4, and after that we further attention about bishop g4. If you didn't see the first video, you can go to watch it, and then you can go back to see this video. So after this move, black can also play knight takes d5, and in this video we'll focus the attention about that. Against knight takes d5, the easy idea that white can follow is take space, devote the pieces, and take a better position. So my simple idea is play c4. After c4, the black knight can go to f6, b6, or maybe b4. b4 is worse, but can be also dangerous, because if knight b4, you must pay attention because the knight is attacking c2, and the bishop f5 can be dangerous. So for example, if you don't see this threat and you play knight f3, bishop f5 is strong, and it's hard to now defend the square. Maybe you must play knight a3, but black now is fine. If you play knight c3, you lose the game because there is bishop f5, and now it would be impossible to defend, for example, c2. So knight b4 is not a good move, but you must pay attention when there is knight b4. And in this case, it's easy for you because you can simply attack the knight with a3. The knight has to go back, and you can go forward with the development without problem for white. But you know, knight b4 is bad, but it's bad because you can attack this knight immediately. Because if this is not possible, a bishop f5 could be a problem. So we must pay attention about that. Okay, perfect. So the other option can be knight f6, for example. If knight f6, we can go with the development. So knight f3, for example, and if bishop g4, we can simply play bishop e2. If e6, we can go forward with the castle, and at the end, we will take a very good position, which, okay, we can imagine our bishop h5, queen b3, and after knight c3, bishop e3, white is fine. If, for example, bishop takes f3, the light bishop is very strong in this diagonal, so white is without problems. After c6, again, bishop e3, and then knight c3, queen b3, rook d1, and the two bishops are very strong on the queen side. It's clear that in this kind of position, the main idea for white is follow the tension about the center and about the queen side. Okay, very good. So we can go back. In theory, is also possible. For example, now something like g6, but in this case, not a big problem. Again, we have knight c3, queen b3, bishop f4, and white is fine about the development, so no big problems. Okay, we can go back. So if knight f6, I think not a big problem for white. I can go forward with the development without big problem, because the knight on f6 is not attacking nothing, so no problem for white. And you take space, development, and in general, the strategical idea is play on the center or on the queen side. So this is the important idea to remember. Okay, very well. So knight f6, no big problems for white, so we can focus attention about knight b6. Okay, if knight b6, now there are two pawns. Then pawn c4, pawn d4 inferior under attack, but now white has two defenders, the bishop for the pawn c4 and the queen for the pawn d4. Okay, I do a easy example. The attack against c4 is not a real attack, because if knight e2, so if white played to cover the bishop, it's impossible to take the pawn c4 because there is a double attack, and now white wins a piece, the knight. So usually, yeah, the knight can make pressure against c4, but it's not a real attack, because often we have queen a4 to attack is the king, is the knight. For this reason, now white can simply forward with the development, so with the knight f3, for example. And after bishop g4, that could be an idea, we can simply play c5. c5 is a very nice move. And after c5, I think knight d5 is a mistake, because we can play now queen b3. Strong move. You can attack. You can make pressure against the knight, and you can attack b7. b7 is without defender, and it's not possible queen c8, because I can just take the knight, and this position is very hard now for black. So this is a very nice idea. For example, if c6, okay, if bishop takes, you can simply take on b7 because you are taking the rook, and white is fine. Yeah, so that's very important and very interesting. To be honest, after c5, the best move for black is knight 6 d7, but it seems a strange move because the white pieces seems the black pieces are passive now, and you can simply go forward with knight to c3, bishop to c4, castle kingside, bishop e3, and your development is easy without no problem. And for the middle game, after castle kingside, you can try to add your pressure on the queen side with b4, maybe b5, a4, and play something like that. Okay, so this could be an idea. And okay, so c5 is strong, and yeah, if bishop g4 is not the only move that black can do. Maybe black can also play knight c6, for example, but in this case, white has an easy move, d5, the pawn is attacking the knight, and now this knight has no good squares. If knight b4, you can simply play a3, for example, or in this particular case, it's also playable knight c3. If you remember well, before with knight c3, you lose the game. Now it's not true, because after bishop f5, now your point is how to defend c2, and with the pawn to d5, now the square d4 is free, so it's free for the knight that can defend the point c2, and at the same time can attack the bishop on f5. So knight d4 is very strong because you can attack and defend at the same time. So for example, if knight d4, bishop has to go back to g6, and after a3, white position is fine without problem. So that's very nice. We can go back. Perfect. So knight c6, d4. Yeah, so if knight c6, d5 is easy, white is fine after that. And another example can be if g6. Black can also play g6. In this case, we go forward with knight c3. And if bishop g7, we can complete the development without big problems. So h3. And the idea about h3 is avoid bishop g4, because usually in this kind of position, the black bishop, the light black bishop is passive, so it's not a good idea to allow bishop g4. So I think it's important to play h3 and avoid that, and then you can play bishop e3, bishop e2, and go forward with the standard development. So castle, bishop e3, knight c6, and now can be fine also queen d2. Bishop e2 is good, or queen d2 in general. It's not so important the right order. And now, for example, after e5, you can play d5. And now there is a very active position which we must play g4. And in this particular position with g4, the main idea for white will be castle on the queen side to attack the castle. And to do that, we can play bishop h6 and attack in this way. So, for example, if e4, knight d4, and when f5, we go h6, and the idea would be castle kingside, and then attack h7, make pressure against h7. So this can be a nice idea, and well, but it's not the only idea that you can follow. Queen d2 is playable. Oh, sorry, queen d2 is playable, but you can also play simply bishop e2. And if e5 again, d5, if knight e7, you can also play castle, and this can be also another option. Because in this kind of position f5, I think is not so dangerous, because if f5, the square g5 can be weak, and in this particular position, a very nice move for white can be also bishop c5 to pin this knight and to make pressure in this way. And after, for example, rook f7, no, the rook f7 is not possible because there is knight g5. If rook e8 to remove the pin, we can go forward with a4, a5, because this knight on d6 is without good squares. So if this, bishop back, a3 or b4, and then the idea can be e4, c5, and go forward in this way. I don't know, if b6, the idea can be b4, then try to play c5, d6, and the white pawns is very strong. We must pay attention about e4, but you can simply go knight e4, and it's fine, because now this knight can go here, or c6, so it's very dangerous. Maybe you can move your rook away from this diagonal, and the white position is fine. So yeah, this is a very nice idea that the white can follow in this kind of position. Okay, very well, so this is an important detail to remember, and it's the important thing to remember about this variation, because yeah, in theory it's also possible for black play 6 now, can be another option, but it's not a big problem because we can go forward with knight c3, if bishop e7, bishop to d3 or e2, after castle kingside, and again white is fine about the development, and the easy plan that the white can follow is, for example, bishop e3, a4, try to push the pawns and take space on the queen side. So not a big problem for white in this kind of position. So white is very good, I think. Okay, perfect. This is about this variation. So the variation with d4 and knight exd5. So we made a good work about it. And for this video is all. If you have questions, feel free to write below in the comment. I would be happy to answer you. And see you for the next video. Bye. Remember to follow me on social networks and share the video with your friends. Thanks!